So, how powerful are the Nightsisters? Um, Obviously, they've got strange magics. So, I think, to kind of just start off with, to kind of get a feel for how I see the Nightsisters, I'm gonna just read off a list I wrote down of most of the powers that Mother Talzin uses, and feel free to correct me in the comments or in the chat if I missed one or you want clarification on where I got um, these powers from. Now, feel free to leave those in the chat or in the comments, and I'll probably explain a bit about where they're seen. But I'm just gonna start reading now. So the first power is like a magic shield that like Mother Talzin can like float up, and like this orb of green mist kind of surrounds her, and not really mist, just like energy, I guess. And anyways, it like surrounds her and it like blocks blaster bolts. I don't know if it could block anything more than blaster bolt. Probably, I'm not quite sure, but all we see it tested on is blaster bolts. And this is when the Separatists are attacking the Nightsisters, and they kind of like take out most of them or all of them. Uh, Basically, they're raiding the Nightsister like fortress. Then there's lightning, which is seen right after she makes the shield, and she shoots lightning. It's a bunch of green lightning, and it like takes out a bunch of battle droids. I mean, it again, it could be stronger. We don't really know. We don't know if it's like as strong as like, the normal blue lightning you see from like other Sith, which does vary greatly. So maybe it's like as powerful as Count Dooku's lightning. We don't really know, but we do know it can take out battle droids and super battle droids. It just takes them out pretty quickly. Um, and also it has quite a bit of range, which comes to another interesting question. How far is the range of lightning, and does it really matter? Which is something I really want to get into and kind of research more when I have time, and then add that to do that as one of the segments in my live stream. The next power is like her sword that she uses against Mace Windu. During the Clone Wars, like Mace Windu and Jar Jar Binks go to like investigate some like Bardodan people disappearing or whatever. And Bardodans are basically, they have got like a rocky relationship with the Jedi. They see the Force as more like neutral, I guess. Um, and basically, Windu fights Mother Talzin, and to fight in his lightsaber, she pulls out a magic sword. It's got like a fiery blade, but I don't know. It's like super wide, so it's hard to get like close enough. I don't know. It's hard to describe in just words, but it seemed pretty powerful. Didn't have too much reach. But another power I do want to mention now is strength and speed, which is unconfirmed. We don't know if like the Nightsisters, if their strength and speed comes from the Force or like just normal biology or natural biology. We don't really know. But Mother Talzin is able to keep up with Windu at least for a little bit, which is somewhat due to her sword, but clearly she has some like strength enhancements in order to keep up or to match Windu's blade lock. Speed enhancements probably too, and we see Nightsisters doing flips and stuff, and I don't know. So I would guess that they have enhanced speed and strength through the Force, and that's something that all Nightsisters seem to have. Maybe not on the same level as, say, like Ventress, but at least on the same level as like Mother Talzin, it seems. The next power is telekinesis, which is seen when she's like repairing Maul's legs. Which again, while repairing Maul's legs, she also seems to be able to melt metal, which kind of makes sense. You have other powers like telekinesis and force lighting, and they're all like energy, like production. You just force push, boom, energy into your target. So melting metal is kind of a basic extension of that. I mean, it's pretty hot, but like we don't know what metal it is. It could have a low melting point. Anyways, she melts metal and lifts stuff and moves a bunch of wires and basically builds a pair of legs using telekinesis. So we don't ever see her like lift anything super big, like no Senate pods, no X-wings. We don't ever see her like force pull something really quickly, but like we see her do some very intricate stuff like building legs. And obviously I also mentioned melting metal. The next power is like her, and this is the whole thing with like Savage Oppress, is they were able to like knock him out basically, like basically instantly. They would just like touch his forehead and he falls asleep basically. And actually interesting connection, we see Kylo Ren use this ability on Rey in The Force Awakens, which is very interesting and makes me wonder if there's any connection there. Probably not, at least not officially, but it's just an interesting thing that I think if someone wanted to retcon into canon, that'd be great. I mean, just write a comic about Kylo Ren encountering the Nightsisters and learning a few abilities, or finding a Sith holocron with this ability, and maybe a few other abilities we see the Nightsisters use. That would be pretty interesting. Then there's also the mind control, which is done on Savage Press as well. But that one's, I don't know, they did like a whole ritual thing, which I've got like a whole section to talk about with rituals. The last power, and I think this is one of her most powerful abilities, is her teleportation ability. Like, she can literally teleport. That's an incredibly useful, incredibly powerful ability. So, yeah, like, the ability to teleport is often underestimated in my opinion. I mean, well, maybe it's not. It's just a really powerful ability, I guess. It's underestimated in the same way that super speed or, like, I guess, like, just a lot of powers are underestimated, and I air quotes around that with my fingers. You can't see because I don't have a camera. But, like, people know it's powerful, but it's like people also feel like it's not talked about enough. So yeah, that's a lot of powers. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 powers. 9 or 10, depending on what you count as. Like, strength and speed, are they combined? You know, are they even a thing? Then it would be 8 powers if you don't think they're a thing, or at least not given by the Force. Yeah, so there's a whole lot of powers. Like, most Jedi seem to use, like, Force Push, Force Pull, Telekinesis, which is all the same power. And then they have Force Augmentation, which potentially could be just, like, your Force telekinesing your arm to be stronger, I guess. I don't think it is, but that's possible. Then there's, like, other sensing powers, which, like, you wouldn't be able to know if they're sensing things unless, like, people, like, mention it. And I think it's very likely that Mother Talzin also has powers like sensing other people and all those other mental powers that allow Jedi to, like, sense. I keep saying sense. Heightened reflexes, like visions of the future, all that kind of stuff. Like, just having this, like, feeling, like Luke turning off his targeting computer, or Luke deflecting blaster bolts from the, like with the blast shield down. Like, these powers that are just Force sense. I would be shocked if Mother Talzin didn't have those powers, in addition to all these other ones. So, they've got a wide variety of powers, lots of powerful powers, I guess. But now let's talk about the Nightsisters rituals. And this is where this is okay, so when I think about the Force, I think one of the best explanations, or one of the explanations that most make sense to me, is that the Force is an energy field that surrounds all living things, and, like, it connects them. And basically what this allows Jedi to do is to access this, like, field of energy and be able to manipulate it and, like, push energy into objects, and that's a Force push. Or push energy into themselves and Force augmentation. They're faster and stronger. And then it also connects everything, and so they can, like, sense when Alderaan blows up. You know, like, they have these powers that stem from this, like, I guess it's 2 ideas, but, like, they have these 2 kinds of powers. They've got Force sensing and, like, Force energying. But then you get the Nightsisters, and they're, like, using locks of Count Dooku's hair and, like, chanting, and they've got, like, green mist everywhere. And it's just a bit confusing to me about how they're using the Force so differently than other people. Um, so if you've got any like ideas on that that kind of explain that better than just I guess they're just weird. Um, Please leave those in the chat or in the comments. I would love to hear all your thoughts about that. But for now, what I basically think is, well, you've got shield, lightning sword, strength, speed, telekinesis, melting metal, knockout / mind control, and teleportation. That all fits pretty well. The rituals are more so to just kind of cement the things that are about to happen in the head of the person who's doing it. Because another comment that I think explains more of the power of the Force is when Luke is like, when Yoda lifts up the X-Wing, and Luke is like, I don't believe it. And Yoda's like, that is why you fail. So, by that logic, if you believe it can be done, it'll be done. Like, so, does that mean you can lift anything with the Force? I'm not quite sure. But if it's all about belief, that would explain why people use their hands. Like, they don't have to, but it helps them, like, it's a physical action you can do to help your brain comprehend that you're moving something that's like 10 feet away. So these rituals might be something like that. As for the mist, I'm not quite sure. It could have something to do with Dathomir. It could have something to do with the witches. Yeah, I don't really know. Maybe it's just like their force is like corrupted somehow, and so you can see it like physical, like you can see it. Like most times you see a force push, and it's just the object moves. It's like the wind. You can see its effects, but you can't actually see it. But maybe with Nightsisters, you can see it. Again, I'm not really sure. They don't really explain any of this stuff, and frankly, I don't know if they even know. And by that I mean like Disney. Something I've always wondered is, does George Lucas know how the Force works? Like the same way like I know the basics of science. Like, oh, hot air rises. Like electricity flowing through a wire is gonna make it heat up. Like these things. Like, does George Lucas know the Force like a science, or does he just kind of, that power would be cool. Well, I'm gonna add that into Star Wars. And same goes for like Dave Filoni and the rest of Disney. Do they like understand how the Force works? Do they have like a book? This is how the Force works. Or probably like a Google Doc or something. But you know what I mean. And that's something I've always wondered. So what do you think? Do you think they know how the Force works? Do you think it's like some concrete rule that they have in Disney? This is how the Force works, and like if you try and write a story, you got to make sure that, or if you try and make a new Force power, you got to make sure it aligns with how the Force works. But that's all I have to say about the Nightsisters. They're pretty powerful, but pretty weird. It's like I said, there's so many different powers they have, and it's so different from the other powers we see, like Jedi and Sith using. It's hard to understand like the differences, I guess, and what stays the same, and how powerful are they. But I think just by talking about it for, I don't know, like, well, how long has it been? 15 minutes? 10 minutes? Not really sure. But I think just by talking it, you get an idea of how powerful and how they can use their powers to do a variety of things. One last thing to note. It seems that the Nightsisters only ever have like one witch who can do a lot of stuff. So like, I suppose maybe not one witch. Maybe it's just rare because like Ventress has the Force. She seems to use that pretty strongly, but she doesn't use it in the same way as Talzin. She's not trained for it. Then there's Talzin, and then there's the really old witch who does something and calls like up the dead. And then in the Jedi Fallen Order game, there is a witch who does powers. But most of the time, they just like use their bows. They drink potions of invisibility. But like they do chanting. But it's mostly Talzin who seems to be doing all the powers. So that's something interesting, something to note about the Nightsisters. And if you have any more examples, any more information about the Nightsisters that you want to share in the chat or in the comments, please do.